Imagine a world without writing. Every story, every law, every piece of wisdom lives only in memory. When the person who remembers is gone, so is the history. For tens of thousands of years, this was humanity's reality. Thoughts vanished like whispers in the wind. But then, in the fertile lands of the Nile, something incredible happened. Ancient Egypt created one of the world's first permanent writing systems, a way to make human speech last forever. These weren't just simple markings. They were intricate, beautiful symbols called hieroglyphs, paired with a revolutionary invention called papyrus, which was the world's first true paper. They transformed human civilization. Knowledge could finally travel through time, allowing the voices of the past to speak to the future. This is the story of how writing was born and how it changed everything. So what exactly are hieroglyphs? The name comes from Greek and means sacred carvings, because they were often found etched into the walls of temples and tombs. At first glance, they look like a beautiful collection of pictures. You'll see birds, people, everyday objects, and gods. In fact, there were over 700 different symbols. But they weren't just pictures. These symbols worked in three clever ways. Some were phonetic, representing sounds, just like the letters of our alphabet. Others were logographic, standing for an entire word. For example, a picture of a sun could simply mean sun. And finally, some were determinatives. These were silent symbols placed at the end of a word to clarify its meaning. So if you wrote a name, you might add the symbol of a man or a woman at the end to show their gender. This sophisticated system was primarily used for monumental inscriptions, the things meant to last for eternity. With a system this complex, you might be wondering, could everyone read and write? The answer is a firm no. In ancient Egypt, literacy was a rare and valuable skill. The only people who mastered hieroglyphs were highly trained scribes. Their education was grueling, starting in childhood and lasting for over a decade. They had to memorize hundreds of symbols and learn the complex rules of grammar and style. Because of this, scribes were part of an elite intellectual class. They were respected, well-paid, and essential to the functioning of the entire kingdom. It was the scribes who recorded the pharaoh's decrees, managed temple inventories, wrote down prayers to the gods, and documented Egypt's incredible knowledge of medicine, astronomy, and law. Writing wasn't just for communication. It was the bedrock of power, religion, and science. For thousands of years, the meanings of these sacred carvings were lost to time. After the fall of ancient Egypt, no one could read hieroglyphs. The civilization's true voice was silent, and its history was shrouded in mystery. That all changed in 1799. During Napoleon's campaign in Egypt, a group of French soldiers stumbled upon a large black stone slab near a town called Rosetta. This stone was a sensation because it contained the same decree written in 3 different scripts. At the top were the mysterious hieroglyphs. In the middle was Demonic, a later, more common Egyptian script. And at the bottom was Ancient Greek, a language scholars knew well. This was the key. For the next 2 decades, academics across Europe raced to decipher the code. Finally, in 1822, a brilliant young French scholar named Jean-Francois Champollion cracked it. He realized the symbols represented both sounds and ideas. The Rosetta Stone had unlocked Egypt's lost language, allowing us to read their stories in their own words for the first time in millennia. But writing on stone is slow and heavy. For everyday life, the Egyptians needed something else. They found it growing right on their doorstep, along the banks of the Nile River, the papyrus plant. This tall reed was a gift from the gods. The Egyptians figured out how to slice its stem into thin strips, lay them in overlapping perpendicular layers, and then press and dry them to form a smooth, sturdy sheet. The result was papyrus, a material that was lightweight, portable, and surprisingly durable in Egypt's dry climate. It could be rolled into scrolls for easy storage and transport. This wasn't just a new writing surface. It was the world's first mass information medium. For the first time, knowledge was no longer tied to a monument. It could travel. The invention of papyrus was a game changer for civilization. Suddenly, information could be managed on an unprecedented scale. This enabled the creation of the first libraries and government archives. Royal decrees, legal contracts, and tax records could now be efficiently stored and retrieved. Trade flourished as merchants used papyrus to keep detailed ledgers and send messages across vast distances. Religious texts, like the Book of the Dead, could be copied and placed in tombs to guide the deceased into the afterlife. Cartographers drew maps, architects drafted blueprints, and generals sent military orders, all on these portable scrolls. Papyrus allowed ideas to spread like never before, not just within Egypt, but across the ancient world. From Greece to Rome, it laid the foundation for the very concept of books and became the direct ancestor of the paper we use today. With hieroglyphs to record ideas and papyrus to spread them, Egypt became a knowledge empire. The surviving scrolls give us a breathtaking glimpse into the minds of the ancient Egyptians. We have medical papyri, like the Edwin Smith Papyrus, which is the world's oldest surviving surgical text. It describes, in astonishing detail, how to diagnose and treat 48 different types of traumatic injuries, from skull fractures to spinal injuries. It even includes rational, scientific observations instead of just relying on magic. We've found mathematical texts that show their understanding of geometry and algebra, which were essential for building the pyramids. There are astronomical papyri that detail their complex 365-day calendar, and engineering manuals that hint at how they achieved their monumental construction feats. Egypt wasn't just a kingdom of gold and stone. It was a civilization built on information. So if the Egyptians wrote down so much incredible knowledge, why was so much of it lost? The main culprit is the very material that made it all possible, papyrus. While it's durable in the bone-dry climate of Egypt, it's an organic material. Outside of that specific environment, it quickly decays in moisture. When Egyptian texts were exported to Europe or other humid regions, they simply rotted away. Furthermore, history is rarely peaceful. Countless scrolls were lost to fires, wars, and floods. The Great Library of Alexandria, said to have held hundreds of thousands of papyrus scrolls, was famously destroyed, and with it, a vast repository of ancient wisdom vanished forever. Even within Egypt, tombs were looted and temples were repurposed, leading to the destruction of their inscriptions. What we have today is only a tiny, precious fraction of what once existed, fragments that survived against all odds, offering a tantalizing window into a world of lost knowledge. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more journeys into history.